Welcome guys, and it's noon, that means we are live. As a typical Friday at noon, we do the live repairs. Basically, I'm just going to do a repair with you, and you guys can follow along. This particular one, we're going to be changing the brake handle on a scooter. It's the same for pretty much any scooter. But in this instance, I'm using a Pro. This is actually a customer's who had the unfortunate event of crashing, so you guys can see stuff is a bit damaged. Don't worry, he's safe, he's all good. But we're going to be changing the brake handle here. Essentially, if you guys have any questions while I'm doing anything about either this repair or just repairs in general, something you'd like to see me do, don't hesitate to ask me. And pour ceux qui parlent en français, ceux qui viennent du Québec, si vous êtes francophone, n'hésitez pas à me demander des choses en français aussi, je parle français. Et s'il y a quelque chose que vous ne comprenez pas, que vous voulez que je vous explique en français, il n'y a pas de problème aussi. So, let's get right to it. So what I'm going to need is a new brake handle, which is arriving now. A 5mm Allen key, a 4mm Allen key. You'll need a cutter of some sorts. A wire stripper if possible. If you don't have one, that's okay. And we're going to use heat shrink too. And finally, a soldering iron. So this isn't really a repair that I think anyone could do, but I thought I'd just show you how we do it in case one day, or if you do know how to solder, then that's even better. So let's get right to it. I'm going to switch on my soldering machine, just that way it gets nice and heated. There we go. And so we'll start by removing the old brake handle. We're going to do this by undoing this screw here that holds the handle in place using a 4mm Allen key. Ooh, this was not expected. It'll be okay, I'll figure it out. There we go. Person really tightened up. Sorry about the mess around, but you guys can imagine right now everyone kind of wants the scooter back on track for the good warm days. I don't know how it is where you guys are, but in Montreal it just decided to snow yesterday morning, just like a light snow, you know, just to tease us, kind of get us afraid. But oh man, this is not good. Worst case, I might do the other side. Okay, let's see what we have here. Put this in. It's a little stripped. Let me see if I have. Give me 1 second. What happens when things are not clean. There we go. That was the last thing I was expecting to not go right, but now we're all good. Slide it out, and now we'll just remove the cable ties that are around that are holding the cables in place. Remove that there, and I'll remove the top one from here, and remove this plastic covering that's protecting it here. Let's kind of cut this open. Be careful not to damage anything. Get this out. So that's the thing with the brake handle. Why we have to solder is because of the brake sensor. That's basically what senses when you're pressing on the brake, or basically makes the regen start, or makes you not be able to use the throttle, and the rear lights to flash too. So that's what the sensor is for. And this is electrical, which is why we have to undo it. So now we can remove the old handle. I'll use a 5mm Allen key, which I'll remove the bolt here. You don't need to remove the bolt completely, you just need to loosen it a bit so I can get it out. Okay, so just so I have some space, so I guess what I'll do is remove the cable here. What you want to do is have, it's going to be a tricky one, if you want to see the groove that's here and get the cable out. Since he crashed, it's a little damaged, so hopefully I can still get it out, but I might have to pull a little bit on that. Play around with it. Get long nose, pliers. Nice, there we go. I just want to make sure I didn't bend this too much. And I can slide it out. And I'm going to cut the cable somewhere here. So you want to give yourself enough leeway to resolder and kind of, but not too much that it's going to go out, right? You want to keep this all nice and clean. So I think around here I can cut it and everything will still stay clean. So 3, 2, 1, there we go. And we can slide off the old brake handle. And now we can put on the new one. And there we go, just checking that the new one's length is good enough, that it's long enough. And now I'll slide it through. And now we can start with the wires and the soldering and everything. So I'm going to strip the outer layer. Now you want to be careful because this outer layer is kind of big, but the inside is very fragile. So I'm actually not going to go full on. I'm just going to kind of press it around lightly. And just move it around. I don't want to be cutting anything. I'm shortening my wire, basically. I'll press it lightly. If you guys have any questions, don't hesitate. There we go. We got those two out. We'll do the same for down here. Same thing, I'm just lightly kind of pressing around it so as not to cut the cable. Nice, there we go. There we go. And now I can strip the ends here. So I'll use the smaller one. That way I have access to the copper that's inside. I'll spin it here. Same thing with the other wire. You don't want it too short, not too long either. And I just spin it, that way it's nice and clean. You guys can see. Same thing on the other side. And back here. Nice, now we can get to soldering. Now before doing any of the tie wraps, what I like to do first is just kind of put a little bit of, there we we go, of iron on the copper, just so it'll be easier to kind of all put together afterwards. Same thing on the other side. Now that it's covered, I'm good. And now is when I put on the heat shrink. So I'll put the big one in first, just to kind of cover everything afterwards. So I'll put that through, and I'm just going to leave this aside for now. And next we're going to be putting the smaller ones on the smaller wires. But I'll start just one by one, and you'll see why. It's because afterwards, when I'm going to heat it up with the heat gun, I just don't want to be shrinking everything down, right? So I'll cut off a small piece, pass it through, and so there we go. I'll start with the yellow one. I have some iron left here. Just a little bit. I don't need much, I think. And at the same time, I'm just gonna make sure that the wires are the way that I want to. It's just gonna be annoying to kind of remove afterwards. So now I'll kind of align both just to have them on the same. And there we go. Nice and clean. Now, this small one is what I'm going to be putting here to protect. Turn on the heat gun. And there we go. Nice. You can also use like a lighter or anything that's really warm around it. Just you shouldn't really be touching it. So, yeah. Now we'll go with the second one.
Is it possible when soldering to damage the wires?
Not really. The only thing there's nothing that can really go wrong. You're not going to damage the wires, that is 100% sure. Just like maybe if like your iron is a little bit dirty and it just might not make it like nice, but you're not going to be damaging anything. It's not going to change anything efficiency wise or whatever. Get that other piece of heat shrink in, and we'll solder the black one. Now usually the second one is a little trickier, unless you have like a second person that can kind of hold it, but otherwise you just kind of place it and kind of, there we go. Nice. Let's get that back on and heat it back. Now, ideally, you would test them to make sure that it's good, but right now, as you can see, not much works on the scooter. But that's okay. I'm going to trust my skills that they're good enough. But usually I always kind of check them, just because it's always annoying when you have to remove. I mean, like you do it and then you see that you didn't solder something properly and you just have to remove the whole heat shrink again. Yeah. Now I'm going to put that big one through just to make it nice and clean. but I'm just going to try pushing it in a bit because this is a kind of a big heat shrink. But it's very, very warm and I don't want to be playing with it too much. Just because I don't want to be stretching it because I'm just waiting for it to cool down and become like rock hard. So yeah, we'll just wait a couple seconds here. Slowly cooling down. If you guys want, you can put like insulating tape over as well if you really want to be extra safe, extra careful. But this heat shrink is great, so, and it makes it just that much cleaner. So finally, I gotta put the brake line back on, which I'll start by pulling here. Get that little piece in with the line coming out. Pull through, and now I'm just going to pull. So once again I need to align the grooves like so, and pull through the grooves, as you can see, and we're good. Now before adjusting anything, I'm just going to be putting the handle back on, cleaning up everything, and then we're going to adjust. So now afterwards you can kind of put all this back together to have it clean. I'm going to leave this as is because there's a few things I'm going to have to do probably later today or at some point, repairing everything. But essentially you can just put back your put back the plastic wrap around and a few tie wraps to just make it nice and clean. But we are going to put the handle back on. We've also got a nice little plastic piece here, which will align with this. And I'm just going to make sure that the handles are both the same. Got my 4mm Allen key. Tighten it up. Nice. 5mm Allen key for the brake handle. Just have it kind of adjusted the way you want, like the height. So I'll have it about here, I think. Worst case, the customer can kind of just change it. There we go. And I'll just make sure the brakes are good. Yeah, they're a little loose, so I'm going to undo it here. Make sure everything is nice and locked. Perfect. That's it, guys. That's how you change a brake handle. Once again, I know this isn't something that necessarily anyone can just do at home, but yeah, just so you guys can see what we're doing. Quick reminder too, that all those repair videos and the lives that we're doing is not 100% because there are issues. It's sometimes because of crashes, that kind of thing, and we just want to be as transparent as possible. That way you guys can see exactly how we do it. And at the same time, if you want to attempt it yourself, if you're very handy, and just so you can kind of see and ask your questions too. Hope you guys enjoy the live. Have a great weekend, and happy Easter if you're celebrating. And yeah, if there's anything else you guys need, don't hesitate.